you know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, the first one is more of a broad-based question, with regards to what is the company's strategy going forward? How do you see sort of things panning out from your side? What is your plans going forward? If you could just address that initially.
Okay. See, essentially, this is an investment holding company. So the nature of the investment is split into two. One is we have a large real estate bank which has been leased out to a government agency here, Oman LNG. And so it's a leased asset which gives us sustainable cash flows. So that's one big chunk of our balance sheet, which is reflective in the form of lease rentals. From a cash flow point of view, it's obviously a predictable cash flow. We also have a large investment book, which consists of strategic holdings. And the strategic holdings are typically in the nature where we hold anything between 5% and 10% or 15% of equity in a company. So I can run you through some of that in a presentation, but this is the long story short. So from an outlook perspective, there are two things. This is a zero debt company, so which means we have no standing liability at this point in time. It is cash rich, both in terms of actual cash and the fact that these are listed equities. Our investment book is a listed equity, so which can be converted into cash at whatever market price. There is a dividend yield component which has also been helping us from a cash flow perspective. So if you put all that three together, in terms of growth, we are heavily invested in the money markets. And given the land bank also giving us sustainable cash flows, so we are kind of aligned to the growth that Oman is going to talk about. So growth in companies from a valuation perspective, growth in companies from a absolute growth point of view, and from a dividend yield point of view. Let me share a screen with you, which will kind of give you a quick snapshot about what I'm talking about. So it will kind of get you a perspective. I don't know, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So this is our investment book. So we got about $1.5 million in banking services. We are a little over 2 million. These are in Riyal Oman. Okay, we got a little over 3.5 million in industrial. We got about $500,000 in insurance sector. We also are in education. So we got some GCC and US equities also. So that's like a value of a little over 9.5 million. This is over and above the asset book that I was talking about, which is basically a housing complex, which is based in Sur. And the entire housing complex consists of about 130 villas. It has been as a project under lease to Oman LNG. So that's where our cash flows kind of operate. So this is some of the key holdings. We got a stake in National Gas. We got a stake in Oman National Engineering, Vision Insurance. Well, at this point in time, it is going through a change process. Education, we got a 10% stake in Sharqiya University, which is now a dividend-paying company. So that kind of gives you a broad perspective of who we are and what we do.
Excellent. Rajesh, if you don't mind, could you? Yeah, please go ahead, and then I can ask further.
No, I'll just stop here if you want.
If you can just go back a couple of slides where you showed the overall sector-wise, the previous slide, I believe. Yeah, if I look at it, you've done extremely well. If I look at banking, if I look at industrial, if I look at sort of on the insurance, so do you see value unlocking over here by sort of any strategic or any sort of in the near to medium term exits on any of these investments? Both from raising. I understand that you're debt free and your cash let's say cash rich in a way. So do you see any exits or anything that the company has or the board has its thoughts on going forward?
At this point in time, we probably are pretty keen to exit the insurance space because of where we have invested. At this point in time, because we see a lot of growth both in Oman and in the region. We actually are seeking to invest our exposure to the GCC markets, and that will kind of broad base or create some sort of diversification to our overall portfolio. You'll have to also kind of understand that this is kind of heavily invested in the Omani markets. So at some point in time, value unlocking would happen when we see growth, and that's what is one of the focus area where we see investments in sectors like services and industrial going to be a focus area for us, where we think that when the construction industry picks up, obviously the down the line utility of these companies which are in the industrial and services sector will benefit. So we kind of positive. Education, yes, is something we will definitely want to stay invested. There is a tremendous value there going forward, both from a point of view of being it's a very young population and because of the way the government is pushing education as a sector to be more and more independent and corporate managed.
Noted. Yeah, makes sense. The next question is with regards to sort of like you said, the news is out in the market that there's a possible merger between Vision Insurance and Oman Qatar, and if that comes, that could be one of the exits for you in terms of cash. Any thoughts of sort of what the company has in a broad plan when it gets excess cash? I mean, there's a regular cash flow, and then there is cash that you get from divestments or exits. One is, of course, to reallocate that capital, like you said, in terms of GCC or other focus area investments. But is there sort of a potential for a minority investor in terms of a one-off dividend from these exits? More conceptually, more than anything else.
Dividend has been, as a policy, we have been giving out, let me show you the dividend policy that kind of sets the tone here. So we've been kind of paying out dividend on a 5% pretty consistently.
Yes, I've noted that.
I'm trying to share the screen and beginning to...
Last 6 years has been 5% and before that was 7%.
Yes. So
the only you missed out and yeah.
So so from a dividend perspective, it's very difficult for me to comment because it's a board decision. But then giving out dividend has been part of that whole philosophy of sharing wealth with both minority and majority shareholders. But at the same time, there is also quite a lot of opportunities for investment. So we are looking at it where we grow the book and yet be able to give out cash. Now, when we talk about cash, the 5% dividend is about 450,000 riyals on a 9 million equity. So that's our payout. So that is something that probably, based on my estimation, would continue. But then that is a board decision. It's not for me to say.
Fair enough. The way I look at it, the way it's clearly evident. It's not. It doesn't require complex analysis. The sheer value unlocking one can look at, or even just on an adjusted basis, the book value.
So I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So essentially, the yellow line or the orange line is the book value per share, and the EPS is the bottom line, the one in blue. So
yes.
So here is the challenge in the sense that largely this company has been trading way below book value for a very long time. Absolutely. And at the same time, it's been also generating enough cash as far as the dividend payout is concerned. So it's a combination from an yield perspective and a growth perspective. It depends on the nature of the investor, essentially, because we have some people who have been invested with us for a very long time and very focused on dividend. But at the same time, I would rather also try to look at investors who are looking at it from a growth perspective. At 165 base of book value and having zero debt and with a land bank in place, I think this company is fairly well placed.
It is. Yes. Yeah. I agree with you on that. Yes. the company looks well positioned. I mean, the investment book is solid. The mark to market on the overall book looks quite attractive. So yeah, I think things look fine. Yeah.
So the focus is now going to be essentially how do I build this book up and kind of position itself where growth is more aggressive or more evident. And I think there's a lot of thought we put into that. We are into national gas, which is a little over 14%. We are into Oman National Engineering investment company, and despite the fact that it says engineering company, it is into a lot into fintech and cash management as a competition to cash collection. Yeah, competition to OFC.
Yes. Yes.
But I think the rollout or the implementations are at nascent stage. So I guess the CEO of Oman National Engineering probably will be able to explain this better, but we stay invested because we see some value in it.
Noted. Yep. That's about it from my side. Just wanted to have a basic overview. Thank you for the strategy and answering the questions, and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate all the listening. You can always reach out to my colleague, Mr. Srinivas Rajgopal. He's on the call, or me for any more queries you have, and feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Take care. Since there is no other participant and there is no further questions, I would suggest that we end the meeting and thank Bishan for coming online. Yeah. Thank you, Bishan, and we will recircle back for our next quarter meeting whenever that happens. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.